Democrats need to be mature, and they need to be honest. And they need to say, yes, there's misogyny. But it's not just misogyny from white men. Mm-hmm. It's misogyny from Hispanic men.
Right.
It's misogyny from black men.
Let's get back to the meltdown, shall we? And the most glorious one occurred, I think, on MSNBC this morning. That's right. Joe Scarborough, Mika Brzezinski, his little Me Too situation at the workplace that ended up with a happy ending because they got married. If they hadn't, of course, it would have been an HR lawsuit for the ages. But no, sometimes an inter-office relationship ends up wonderful. So good for those two. But the rest of you, make sure you take your HR training and don't tell jokes or flirt with each other on the office. They had to analyze exactly what happened yesterday, and they did it in their own inimitable way. It's what we like to call the proctologist's view of America. They see everything in this country in the same way a proctologist looks at his patients. That's right.
I just say really quickly, too. Democrats need to be mature, and they need to be honest. And they need to say, yes, there's misogyny. But it's not just misogyny from white men. Mm-hmm. It's misogyny from Hispanic men.
Right.
It's misogyny from black men, things we've all been talking about, who do not want a woman leading them. Might be race issues with Hispanics. They don't want a black woman as president of the United States. You know, the Democratic Party, I've always found when you're sitting around talking, they love to just sort of balkanize everybody into these separate groups and say, oh, white people don't like women and black people. No, it is time for the Democrats to say, okay, and you and I have talked about this before. A lot of Hispanic voters have problems with black candidates.
Right.
A lot
and
of
with other Hispanics. You got some that don't like each other. And some of the most misogynist things I've heard going on this Get Out the Vote tour came from black men. I mean, misogynist things. So you're absolutely right. It's not simplistic. And we've got to have real honest conversations about it.
Real honest conversations about it. Okay, well, listen, if the thesis is the Democrats are racist, then I'm on board with you. But I don't think that's what they're saying. I don't think that's what they're saying at all. So let me understand this. Joe and Mika want to have a conversation about how the American people are sexist and racist, and that sexism and racism transcends sex and race. So in other words, women can be sexist, by the way. They didn't mention that yet. But of course, since we know that Kamala Harris did worse with women this time around than Joe Biden did 4 years ago, and she's, in fact, a woman, not that this political party can even define what a woman is, but I'm willing to go there. So by definition, if there's misogyny out there, it means all of those women who voted for Biden but wouldn't vote for Kamala Harris, I guess they're a new kind of misogynist. But then we're going to talk about racism. Well, so we need an expert. Let's bring in Al Sharpton. But I'm surprised they didn't bring up the anti-Semitism, too, because he's definitely an expert in that. Just look up the Crown Heights riots, and you'll see what I mean. So we're going to do this, autopsy of last night's election, and we're going to talk about America being sexist and racist. And by the way, we're talking to you black people, you're racist, and you Latinos, you're racist, too. All right, I guess that's a take. But understand something. I am a lifelong Republican. I have voted Republican since the first opportunity I had. All right. I was a child during the Reagan era, and I was inspired by Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan defined what a president is for me. And since then, based on his policies, based on his ideals, and based on his principles, I have been a conservative Republican. And in my entire lifetime, I have been lectured to by these very same people, or variations on the theme, that my party is the party of straight white men, straight white Christian men. And that's a problem. It's just straight white Christian men. Those straight white Christian men, look at us over here. We're the diverse party. We're the party of people of color and of people of ethnicities and people of sexual proclivities. And we're the party of men and women. And we elevate women and women of color and disabled women of color who are also queer, all these things that they celebrate. And that's virtuous. That's wonderful. We, on the other hand, we Republicans, Mitt Romney is our poster child. We all look like Mitt Romney. We all dress like Mitt Romney. We all talk like Mitt Romney. We all go to the country club. We're all like me. We're all straight, white men, Christian men. And that's a problem. And we are to be condemned for that. We're to be chastised for that. In fact, we've been told for the last several election cycles that demographically, we are a dinosaur. We are going to go extinct because we haven't been able to broaden our coalition beyond who we are, which is, again, say it with me, straight, white, Christian men, right? That's what we've been told. Now, along comes the election of 2024. Along comes the election of 2024, and Donald Trump puts together the most diverse foundation and coalition of voters and leaders that the Republican Party has ever seen. Listen, I remember when George Bush was president, and on the convention, we had one night we had Condoleezza Rice, and one night we had Colin Powell, and one night we had, Liddy Dole or whoever the hell was speaking on behalf of the Republican Party that year. And I was like, oh, that's just window dressing. Oh, sure, you got one person there at the convention, but look at all the people in the convention. They're all, say it with me, straight, white, Christian men, right? So even, you're just putting tokens up there, but you're not really diverse. You don't really have a broad coalition. Donald Trump builds the very real coalition, a very real coalition. Look at this. Latino voter support in 2024. Almost half of Latino voters voted for Donald Trump. He had Asian. He got more black voters than any president since 1960. He did better with women than he did last time around, and that's running against a woman, right? He had his he had Tulsi Gabbard up with him. He had RFK Jr. That's the other thing. Not just racial diversity, but intellectual diversity, policy diversity. He built this coalition of astounding individuals. He even had an African American leading the charge for him in Elon Musk. I mean, go with it. He's African American. Look it up. Donald Trump got all of these people of color and women and gay. You look at the exit polls. Gay, as I can't remember who said it. Was it Joe Rogan and Elon? I think they said the normal gay vote.
JD Vance and Joe Rogan.
What was it?
JD Vance and Joe Rogan.
It was JD Vance and Joe Rogan. Yeah, he said, I maintain we're gonna actually win the normal gay vote. And everybody knew exactly what they were talking about. And they did great numbers with the normal gay vote. So Trump builds this coalition. And what is MSNBC's response? After decades of being lectured to about how we might as well have our convention wearing our white hoods because we're straight, white, Christian men, and that's all we are. Suddenly he builds this coalition. And what do they do the next morning? They're all racist too. They're all racist too. The blacks who voted for Trump are racist. The Latinos who voted for Trump are racist. The Asians who voted for the gays are homophobic. Because here's the thing. It had nothing to do with your skin color. It had nothing to do with your beliefs, your Christian faith. It had nothing to do with your gender and your sexual proclivities. It just had to do with the fact that you're a Republican. If you're a Republican, by definition, you're racist. That's all. It's that simple. And it is really simple to be a Democrat. It's simple to be Joe Scarborough when that's it. And that's all we heard from MSNBC. That's what we heard this morning. And, well, last night, I mean, this said it all. This right here, this is the face and the voice and the message of NBC News, personified last night by one of their superstars, Joy Reid.
It's a state that I think Democrats definitely were reaching for. There was a lot of work to try to turn out the college campuses, which were really thick and really packed, and try to turn out the suburbs. And I think there was a lot of hope because of just the insanity, can we say fairly, of the person who's running for governor in that state, and the thought that, defeating him would also carry Harris in. But in the end, if they didn't make their numbers and essentially exceed the numbers that Joe Biden had in the suburbs, and I think we have to be blunt about why. Black voters came through for Kamala Harris. White women voters did not. That is what it appears happened in that state, is that if you can't flip enough white women, and we've talked about this on this set numerous times, is that you have a state where you've got a 6-week abortion or a 12-week abortion. I think theirs might be 12 weeks.
Yep.
But it's a state where women lost their reproductive rights, where there was a very heavy push to get women to focus on not putting in place, re-electing, putting back into the White House the person who was responsible for taking those rights away and restoring them. But that message obviously was not enough to get enough white women to vote for Vice President Harris, a fellow woman. This will be the second opportunity that white women in this country have to change the way that they interact with the patriarchy. And, God bless Shannon Watts, who has tried to have that conversation. But if people aren't receptive to it, and if people vote more party line or more on race than on gender and on protecting their gender, there's really not much more that you can do but tell people what the risks are and leave it to them to do the right thing.
All right. So white women are the problem. So now they're turning on each other. They're eating their own. Remember when I was told that this entire election was going to turn on the white suburban women, and Trump's in big trouble because of Roe v. Wade? White suburban women are the enemy. White suburban women, white suburban women. Then Joy Reid was one of the people saying that. Now white suburban women are the problem. White suburban women are racist, you see, because they were more interested in voting because they're white instead of voting because they're women. Did you notice something about that entire diatribe? Only one policy was noted, and that was the ability for aforementioned white women to be able to kill a baby before it's born. And noted in North Carolina, they have an abortion ban after 12 weeks. So after 3 months of pregnancy, after the first trimester, you can't kill the baby. Okay. Now, for my taste, personally, that's a lot of time. I think that's a little too long for my taste, frankly, but that's fine. North Carolina, as far as Joy Reid is concerned, that gets defined as losing your reproductive rights. I just want to remind everybody, if you're a regular viewer of the show, you know what I'm about to say. Being able to abort a child is not a reproductive right, because by the time the child is in the womb, even if it's just 1 week, you have, by definition, reproduced. The only question is, how far along in the development of the product of the reproduction are you willing to allow the child to develop before you kill it? Him, her. So this is not a violation of reproductive rights, but if you're Joy Reid, that's all that matters, because you can't actually use the appropriate language to describe what's being done, which is to kill the baby. You know, the end result of reproduction. Reproduction has happened. Now you've got a baby developing, and Joy Reid wants to kill it. But we can't call it that, so let's say you're losing your reproductive rights. I don't think so. We'll call you out on it every time you say it. But let me be clear. That was the only actual issue that was raised by Joy Reid there. Everything else was what's your body parts between your legs and what's the color of your skin. You know, white women are the problem. Black people showed up. Black women were fine. Black men were fine. White women are voting with white men instead of voting with their fellow women. They had a chance to elect a woman, just like they had a chance to elect a woman last time. But the womanhood is not a problem. It's not a womanhood. Everything about this is identity politics. And at no point does it occur to Joy Reid that those white women in North Carolina actually have brains and actually care about, I don't know, maybe the children who survived Joy Reid's bloodlust to kill babies before they're born and actually made it out of the womb. Maybe those white women in North Carolina actually care about being able to feed and protect their children, you know, the ones who survived reproductive rights. And the fact of the matter is, under Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, it cost, what, twice as much to put food on the table, if not more? And then when you send your child to school, they have to walk past a park that is now full of homeless illegal immigrant criminals. Maybe, does it occur to Joy Reid that maybe those white women in North Carolina are thinking about things other than what's between their legs and the color of their skin? And they actually care about what's going on in this country. That never enters the conversation. It never enters the conversation. Joy Reid and the network she works for, NBC News, has reduced the white women in North Carolina to three things: their race, their sex, and their ability to kill a baby. And as long as that continues to be the narrative on that network, they don't care. They don't care about you. They don't care about your vote. They don't care about anything that matters to you. And I think that you should return the favor and not care much about them. Now, Alex Wagner on the same network, she accidentally slipped into a policy discussion and about where the Democratic Party is going to go if this election night ends up the way it did end up. She accidentally stumbled into it and came very close to actually having a discussion about the real problems her party faces, but then watch what happens.
I think when it's all said and done, what you're going to see is a huge divide over people who are college educated and not college educated. And if that is the case, what is different is that you could be seeing a realignment about the base of each party. And there are warning signs for everybody here. But if the working class, non-college educated voter is now increasingly a Republican voter, Democrats have to rethink the way in which they sell their policies that absolutely benefit working class Americans.
All right. So if those working class Americans are so stupid that they don't recognize that our policies are actually good for them and they're going to keep voting against their own interests, well, we got to figure out a different way to sell our ideas to them. That's an interesting term, sell. That's what she's saying. This is all about college. You notice how she emphasizes, we're the smart ones. We get it. We know it. And we know what's good for those people, but they're just not voting for what's good for them. We're smart. They're stupid. So they're going to keep voting that way. So what do we got to do? We got to sell our ideas better. We got to lie to them. That's what selling your idea. What do you think? We know what you're saying. We got to figure out a better way to bull these people into voting for us. All right, listen, at least she's recognizing what the problem is. I appreciate that. I really do. Because the choice over on MSNBC and NBC News writ large is that, which is a frank conversation, where at least she's being honest about the fact that she thinks they're intellectually superior to Trump voters, right? And we just got to figure out a better way to bull everybody and make them think that we're the better way to go. You can choose that path over on NBC News, or you can go back to this woman and just stick with the only trick she knows.
And so what you've seen in the last couple of weeks, if this is an audition for managing a complex organization like the United States, Kamala Harris has passed the audition flawlessly. This has been, in many ways, a perfect campaign, a brief, and she had barely any time to put it together. But just as a managerial matter, it's been brilliantly done. She's reached out to every possible constituent.
Yeah, it's a brilliant, flawless, perfect campaign. She's reached out to everyone. In fact, she actually changed her accent each time she addressed every single constituency. That's how perfect she is. A perfect, flawless campaign. So the only reason that she lost, now, this is interesting, because 8 years ago, Hillary Clinton also ran a perfect, flawless campaign. And the only reason she lost, the only reason we could come up with, was Vladimir Putin and Russian collusion. Now, I think even they know they can't go back to that one. So I guess now what they're going to say is she was perfect. It was flawless. There was nothing wrong with the messaging, nothing wrong with the fact that she never actually won the primary and she was just handed the nomination. Nothing wrong with the fact that she's never actually won an election outside of California before. Nothing wrong with the fact that she changed all of her fundamental policies and values and ideas and principles from 5 years ago. So she was completely unrecognizable as a candidate this time around, and never explained how she changed on all of these issues. No, it was a perfect and flawless campaign that she ran, especially the pick of Tim Walz as running mate. I mean, that 100% was an A+. Yeah. So back then, the only reason Hillary Clinton lost was Russian collusion. This time, it's because you're stupid, you're sexist, and you're racist. And, well, You go with that, MSNBC. You go with that. I want you to keep hammering home that message. In fact, I think you should give Joy Reid an extra hour in prime time, because the more you walk down that path and the more you and your whole team there, as well as your pals over on CNN and Georgie Stephanopoulos on ABC, Kristen Welker on NBC, and Nora O'Donnell, who's not long for this world, over on CBS, as long as you keep doing exactly what you did in this campaign, you will make yourselves even more irrelevant than you already are. We are so done with all of you. Your words have no impact on us. In fact, the only reason we have spent time today playing all of this is to mock you mercilessly. We find joy in it, and we will continue to do so. So please keep it up as our numbers grow and more people find alternative information on independent streams like this one, and all of our colleagues who are doing the same thing that we love, and we want them to get as many subscriptions and likes that we have. We will continue to grow. You are driving the American people to us. You are repelling them, and soon you will disappear. The media has committed suicide this election cycle. Total and complete self-inflicted wound. And as my old mentor, Andrew Breitbart, who hired me and brought me into this world, as he would say, the American people don't hate the media because they're biased. They hate the media because they suck. And you are living it out every day right now. And while you live it out, we are living the dream. Hey, real fast, for those of us holding our breath for the past several months, we can finally exhale, right? Woo! Work can finally be done on the major issues this country is facing, and one of the most significant ones is our national debt. The fact is, our nation is broke. That debt is a house of cards that can't quickly be dismantled. So the strategy remains the same. Diversify your savings, protect yourself. So many things are out of our control, out of our president-elect's control. It's important to have a safe haven for your savings. And I'm talking about Birch Gold Group. Birch Gold Group is going to help you convert an IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold, actual tangible physical gold. And the best news is it doesn't cost you a penny out of pocket. You want more information? I know you do. Text my name, Larry, L-A-R-R-Y. Not only is that my name, it's the name of our show. Couldn't be simpler. Larry, L-A-R-R-Y. Text that to 989898. Get your free info kit on gold. And also, by the way, through Black Friday, that's between now and Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, you're going to receive a free 1-ounce silver eagle for every $5,000 purchased with Birch Gold Group. That's huge. Diversify your savings with Birch Gold. Text Larry, L-A-R-R-Y, to 989898. Claim your eligibility for free silver today.